Welcome, friends, and let me regale you with a tale of love's redemptive power, a journey from loneliness to joy that will stir your hearts and renew your faith in life's boundless possibilities. Enjoy the story. The phones were ringing off the hook at Restaurant Pro, a bustling sales office in the heart of downtown. Sharply dressed account executives paced back and forth, closing deals for industrial kitchen equipment as they promised swift delivery and unbeatable prices. In the executive suite, Regional Manager Todd sipped his latte while poring over last quarter's disappointing numbers. "We need to push those combi ovens hard this month," he barked into the speakerphone at his sales director Mike. "I don't care what it takes, just get it done." Down the hall, a group of gossiping admins huddled by the copy machine. "Did you see what Janet wore today?" snickered Tiffany, eyeing the drab gray smock of the 40-year-old cleaning lady mopping the cafeteria floor. "I swear that woman has no life, probably goes home to 100 cats every night." "I heard she's single and childless," added Jessica conspiratorially. "Can you imagine? What a sad, empty existence." The women cackled meanly as they watched Janet go about her thankless work, pushing her cleaning cart from room to room with her head down. Little did they know the pain and heartache hidden behind Janet's solemn demeanor. If they had looked closer, they might have noticed the faraway look that sometimes crossed her tired eyes, the look of a woman lost in memories of a distant past. Rural Indiana, 25 years earlier. The lights flickered and died in the modest farmhouse, prompting a groan from 15-year-old Jenny. "Another power outage? Seriously?" She lit the kerosene lamp on the nightstand and pulled her favorite doll into a hug. "One day, I'm going to have a big family with lots of kids to love," Jenny told the doll, rocking it like a baby. "6 boys and 6 girls, and I'll be the best mama in the world, you'll see." A warm chuckle came from the doorway. "12 young'uns? Heavens to Betsy," said Grandma Jo, shaking her head. "The way you mother those dollies, I reckon you'll have yourself a right big brood someday. Land sakes, I'll have my hands full with grandbabies." A shadow crossed the elderly woman's face as she took a seat at the edge of Jenny's bed. "You keep those dreams alive, you hear? Your mama and daddy, bless their souls, would 'a' wanted that. Don't you let nobody tell you different." Jenny nodded solemnly, remembering the car crash that had claimed her parents' lives 5 years prior. At least she still had Grandma Jo. The two shared a bond that could never be broken, until the day, a decade later, when Jenny found herself utterly alone. The bus ride into the city was the longest of Janet's life. At 24, she had just buried the only family she had left, and was heading into an uncertain future with little more than some cleaning skills and her grandmother's pearl necklace. The sleep-tight motel wasn't much, but the maid wanted sign in the window was like an answer to a prayer. "You can start today," grunted the heavy-set manager, tossing her a set of keys and a scratchy polyester uniform. "Rooms 201, 225, checkouts at 11, so have 'em done by then." Janet set to work scrubbing toilets and changing sheets. Back-breaking work, but she took some small satisfaction in leaving each room spotless. On her lunch break, she nibbled a bologna sandwich in the break room while watching soaps on the fuzzy black-and-white TV. "Well, hello there," came a smooth voice. Janet looked up to see a handsome face smiling down at her. Mike, one of the motel guests. "Haven't seen you around here before. I'm a sales rep in town for the big restaurant expo." Janet blushed and stammered a greeting, unaccustomed to male attention. Mike's eyes crinkled with amusement as he pulled up a chair and started to chat her up. 2 months later, Janet stared in disbelief at the 2 pink lines on the pregnancy test, her hands shaking. After weeks of nausea and fatigue, there was no denying the truth. Mike's baby was growing inside her. She knew she should be happy, but all she felt was fear. How could she possibly raise a child alone on a maid's salary? When she tearfully confessed her situation to Mike over the phone, his response chilled her to the bone. "Sorry, babe, but I'm not looking to be tied down right now," he said coldly. "You're a sweet girl, but let's be real. You didn't think this was going anywhere, did you? Do what you need to do, but leave me out of it." The click of the phone and the dial tone buzzing in her ear was like a knife to the heart. Alone and desperate, Janet threw herself into work. pushing her body to the limit to provide for her unborn child. Until the morning she woke up screaming in agony, the sheets beneath her soaked in blood. The ER doctor's words were a blur. Miscarriage. Nothing you could have done. Nature's way. Devastated, Janet vowed to never let herself be so vulnerable again. She poured all her energy into her job, barely noticing as the years slipped by. But some scars never fully heal. 5 years later. Janet straightened her blouse and took a deep breath before knocking on the door marked Human Resources. A new job at a successful company was just what she needed for a fresh start. "Janet, come in," called Evelyn, the immaculately coiffed HR manager. She looked Janet up and down, her lip curling slightly. "I must say, your resume was rather sparse, but the custodial manager insisted we give you a chance." Janet fought to keep her voice steady. "I can assure you I'm a very hard worker. I'll do whatever it takes to keep things clean and orderly." We'll see about that." Evelyn's tone was dismissive. "Well, here's your ID badge and your uniform. I assume you can find the supply closet yourself. That will be all." As Janet stepped out into the hallway, she overheard Evelyn snickering into the phone. "I know, right? I can't believe the trash they're hiring these days. Did you see that hideous haircut?" Janet's cheeks burned with humiliation as she pushed her cleaning cart towards the executive offices with a heavy heart. It seemed no matter how hard she tried, she would always be looked down upon. But at least she had Samantha, dear sweet Sam, the only friend she'd made at this cold, sterile place. The sassy 50-something receptionist always saved Janet a treat from the break room and asked about her day. For a few minutes, Janet could almost forget her loneliness. Those talks made the long days bearable as she scrubbed and polished. Until the morning, Evelyn pulled Janet aside with a somber expression. "I have some bad news," she said, not sounding the least bit sorry. "Samantha passed away from a heart attack last night. Her family is making arrangements now." Janet's knees buckled as anguished sobs tore from her throat. It couldn't be true. Fate couldn't be so unspeakably cruel as to take away the one person who cared about her. But the pitying looks from co-workers confirmed the awful truth. That night, Janet laid awake staring at the ceiling, the silence of her apartment pressing in on her. Childless, friendless, utterly alone. Was this really all life had in store? Grandma Jo's words echoed in her mind. "You keep those dreams alive, you hear?" But as the years of thankless drudgery dragged on, those dreams had never felt further away. The blare of sirens jolted Janet out of her morose thoughts. She was walking home from another soul-crushing shift when she saw the flashing lights up ahead. A small crowd had gathered by the riverbank, murmuring in concern. As she drew closer, Janet gasped at the sight of a young boy splashing and flailing in the swift current. "Help! I can't swim!" he sputtered, his head dipping below the surface. Without a second thought, Janet kicked off her shoes and plunged into the frigid water, her heart pounding. She hadn't swum in years, but pure adrenaline propelled her forward until she reached the boy. "I've got you!" she called, looping an arm around his chest and pulling him close. The current was strong, threatening to drag them both under, but Janet kicked with all her might towards the shore. Just when she thought her lungs would burst, her feet touched bottom. Summoning her last ounce of strength, she heaved the boy up onto the muddy bank before collapsing beside him, coughing and sputtering. "Matthew! Oh, thank God!" A man in an expensive suit rushed forward, scooping the shivering boy into his arms. He looked to be in his late 30s, with chiseled features and piercing blue eyes. "Son, are you all right? Can you hear me?" The boy nodded weakly, clinging to his father. The man turned to Janet with tears in his eyes. "You saved him," he choked out. "I can't thank you enough, miss." "Janet," she replied, suddenly self-conscious of her bedraggled appearance. "I'm just glad he's okay." The man held out a hand. "Robert Hanson, I owe you everything. Please let me give you a ride home. It's the least I can do." As Robert helped Janet into his sleek Tesla, she couldn't help but marvel at the strange turn her day had taken. Little did she know, her chance encounter with the dashing CEO was about to change the course of her life forever. The next week passed in a surreal blur. Flowers from Robert appeared at Janet's apartment every day, each with a heartfelt note expressing his gratitude and admiration. Sweet little Matthew made a card for his guardian angel, covered in crayon hearts and smiley faces. Janet found herself smiling more than she had in years. For the first time in forever, she had something to look forward to besides work and solitude. All that changed on Monday morning when Janet arrived to find the Restaurant Pro office in an uproar. "Hanson Industries just bought us out," Tiffany told her with wide eyes. "The new CEO wants to see everyone in the conference room, Stat." Janet's heart raced as she filed in with the others, then nearly stopped at the sight of Robert at the front of the room, looking devastatingly handsome in his power suit. His eyes met hers and held for a long, charged moment before he addressed the crowd. "Thank you all for your hard work," he began. "I look forward to leading this company to new heights. However, it's come to my attention that some changes need to be made to foster a more positive work environment." With that, he leveled a steely gaze at Evelyn, who paled. "Miss Carrington, your cruelty and lack of professionalism are unacceptable. Clear out your desk. You're fired, effective immediately." Evelyn sputtered in outrage, but Robert silenced her with a sharp glare. He turned to Janet with a warm smile. "Miss Larson, may I see you in my office, please?" Ignoring the shocked stares boring into her back, Janet followed Robert down the hall in a daze. He closed the door behind them and took her hands in his. "I haven't been able to stop thinking about you," he said softly. "Your bravery, your selflessness, your quiet strength in the face of hardship. Janet, you're the most incredible woman I've ever met." Janet's eyes widened as Robert dropped to one knee, pulling a small velvet box from his pocket. "I know it soon, but nearly losing Maddie made me realize what matters most in life. I want to spend every day showing you the love and appreciation you deserve. Janet Larson, will you make me the happiest man alive and be my wife?" Tears streamed down Janet's face as she whispered the word she'd been waiting a lifetime to say. "Yes." 6 months later. The Hanson estate was awash in twinkling lights and fragrant roses as Janet walked down the aisle on her wedding day. Never in her wildest dreams had she imagined she would find herself here, resplendent in a designer gown, joining her life with a man who cherished her. Robert's eyes shone with love and pride as he slipped the diamond band onto her finger. "I promise to love, honor, and cherish you always," he vowed. "You've brought joy back into my life and shown me what true beauty looks like. With you by my side, I know anything is possible." Janet's heart swelled as she gazed at her new husband, then out at the beaming faces of their friends and family. Matthew grinned up at her from his place as ring-bearer, excitement bubbling over. At the reception, Janet sipped sparkling cider as she watched Robert twirl his mother around the dance floor. She rested a hand on her stomach, still hardly daring to believe the news they'd received last week. After so many years of heartache, her dream of motherhood was finally coming true, ×2. The doctor had confirmed she was carrying healthy twins due just before Christmas. As if reading her thoughts, Robert appeared at her side, drawing her into his arms. "Have I told you how radiant you look, Mrs. Hanson?" he murmured. "You're positively glowing." Janet rested her head on his chest, listening to the steady thrum of his heartbeat. "I just can't believe this is real," she whispered. "I keep waiting to wake up and find out it was all a beautiful dream." Robert tilted her chin up and kissed her tenderly. "Believe it, my love. This is just the beginning of our happily ever after."